with square footage and they're trying to cramp so much stuff on the inside. It's not like you have a 50,000 square foot Walmart that you can walk into. So the very design of the stores is such that you cannot keep 6 feet apart. But you should do your best to keep 3-4 feet apart. So whatever, the farther the distance, the better. And yet people are sending me photos of people in retail shops. And again, buying hair care products, in my mind, would not be an emergency situation. But you know what? If you got to keep the ghetto fabulous hair looking good, fine. But keep your distance between people. People are waiting in line and they're right up on top of each other. Why? So yes, there are certain things that we will have to do. I had to go to the pharmacy this weekend. I actually had to go to the salon this weekend. And, those were necessary things, but I was like, sorry. Don't roll up on me. Don't, keep your distance. Let me break it down to you like this. Forbes 1264. Thank you for joining us from the UK. If you are someone, and again, everybody seems to think this is an old person disease. It isn't. It's only going to kill old people. It's not. Your chances might be higher because you're older. You may have additional complications that compromise your immune system. But let me break it down like this. We have a local DJ who recently has been battling cancer. And this is no secret. Lynn took to his social media platform. He talked about his cancer. He had stage 4 cancer. And so he's very fortunate to be alive. Thankfully they found it when they could surgically remove it. But he is someone who right now has a compromised immune system. Lynn is, maybe 40? I think he just, not that long ago, celebrated his 40th birthday. Coronavirus for someone like him would kill him. He's our friend. Everybody loves Lynn. Cool guy. DJ, He knows how to keep the party going. He has 2 young children in this community who are at the most, maybe his oldest daughter, she might be 10, going on 11. That would be a young father who has now left 2 children without a father. I want you guys to think about this. Because sometimes the only way that we actually get it is when we break it down to this level. Joelle, thank you for that statistic. 50% of hospitalized patients in the US are between the age of 20 and 64. But when we hear those statistics, we don't think about our friends like DJ Lynn. We don't think about the number of people in our community who suffer from childhood cancers. Children. We don't think about the fact that, I'm only 45, but I'm diabetic. Oh shit, that puts me at risk for this? At greater risk of having serious pneumonia and serious complications and dying from COVID-19? Yes, it does. Who else in my life has a compromised immune system? Some of us have compromised immune systems and don't even know it because we have underlying conditions, including hypertension, high blood pressure, that we do not even know. This weekend, thank you for reminding us about pregnant women as well. This weekend, we had a young lady, Ashley, at the age of 14 who died. Now, her death is not related, and I want to make this very, very clear. It's not related to anything to do with coronavirus. She was only 14 years old, and she had a brain aneurysm. People think that age makes you invincible, and it doesn't. Babies come into this world, and sometimes they barely get a day of life. Life is fragile and precious, and most of us take advantage of our youth. Most of us don't understand how incredibly special our lives are, and how in the blink of an eye, one little thing can take it all away. You're gone. That's it. Yesterday morning, 12 something in the morning, this young guy, Mario, 44 years old. That's still young, folks. Bike accident, boom, gone. 6-year-old child is now without a father. A wife is now without a husband. His parents are probably still alive. They've lost a son. Siblings have lost a brother. You cannot take life for granted. We all do it on occasion, but in times like this, I'm telling you guys, this coronavirus is no joke. So let's talk now about what's going to happen as of yesterday. And it is my firm opinion that what's going to happen this morning is going to change yet again. Cameron says his emotion and passion had me on the verge of tears. Cameron, I don't even think that people got it. Dominique says children should no longer be allowed in the supermarket or stores in Cayman. People need to keep their children home as much as possible. Taking your children out is exposing them in a greater way than if you really understood what was happening here. You wouldn't take the chances. You really wouldn't. I have parents saying to me, oh, I work and, I don't have the opportunity to work from home. And so I just had to run out really quickly. And I get that. I understand those real life implications of your work schedule and your life. But when I tell you that if you understood what was out there, you would lock your children up and not allow them in public spaces, and especially crowded public spaces where people can't stay 6 feet away from them. You wouldn't take this for a joke. Martial law, that's exactly what the legal term is. And it's coming. Alhana says it's true. I don't like Sandra personally, but y'all are wrong. Alhana, I don't even think you know me personally to like me or not, but whatever. What you should say is you don't like the perception that you have and perhaps a few other people have of me. But if you don't know me, then you can't know me or like me personally. So, Yvette, they need to lock down the whole island. If not, they're going to be devastation of this island. And I'm telling you, it's coming. Well, what I'm telling you, Yvette, in my opinion, martial law is about to be rolled out here today. If it doesn't, I would be surprised. If we don't hear of more confirmed cases, I would be surprised. So as of right now, and I think that this will change, I'm going to just bring this up. What we are looking at are a number of additional changes that came out of the press conference yesterday. Public gatherings have now been reduced from 50 to 10. Now let me explain to you what that means. I don't even know why it was 50 to begin with. Because in my mind, that gave people an excuse to not even understand what that 50 meant. That didn't mean that you could take 48 people and cram them into a little small restaurant, and because you hadn't reached number 50, you were good. That wasn't the intent of that restriction. The intent of that restriction was to try to say, listen, keep your social distance, and in our opinion, in public spaces, you can't realistically do that for most public spaces with more than 50 people. But 50 people or less, 6 feet apart. Most businesses in Cayman, most restaurants in Cayman cannot hold that many people, or even 45 people, 6 feet apart. They don't have the table space for that. So this initial 50 has now been reduced to 10, but I think a lot of people misunderstood what that 50 meant to begin with. People were not getting it. So they have a party at their house. Well, I can invite 45 people. Really? Can you invite 45 people and keep them 6 feet apart? No. And in certain social settings, that just doesn't work, and it doesn't make any sense. It's not workable. That's why they said, right, as of this weekend, shut down the bars, shut down the salon, because you can't sit at a bar and then have the next person sit 6 feet from you and have the bartender be 6 feet from you and serving you a beer. It's not workable. So now that has been reduced to 10. There's some places in the US where that is being reduced to 2 people in the United States of America, where they have way more space in restaurants and public gathering spaces. They have now said 2 people, no more than 2. You know what they're saying? Don't go out in public. That's basically what that says. So public space is now no more than 10. Curfew has been implemented from 9 p.m. until 5 a.m. At 10 o'clock, I believe that will change to 7 p.m. So get ready for it, folks. Public transportation has been suspended, with the exception of taxis, so no more buses. If you operate and drive a taxi, limit of 2 persons per taxi. Now, I think this needed clarification, because is the 2 persons the driver and 1 other person, or is it 2 persons, 2 passengers? And again, in a taxi, depending on the size of the taxi, can you realistically keep people 6 feet apart? Highly unlikely. So no public transportation. Gatherings of no more than 10, the premier reminded everyone, extends to public beaches as well. Rum Point, folks. Even out in the water. So those of you who were out partying and having a good time this weekend weren't caring about the health and well-being of other people, you were putting us all at risk. And the risk is real. The numbers are increasing. Let me try to see if I can bring up this. This again is me talking about people who are deceptive. Sorry, this thing keeps pulling up the wrong one here. Where is this being? So, this couple, again, they came in on a private jet. Kudos to them. I'm glad that was such a big deal and necessary to inform us about. But at the same time, we have messages here where this same young lady was, here we go. I found it. Finally found the correct image. Was telling her friends on social media, and I want you guys to see it because you might think that I'm lying on her and her husband, who were here vacationing and having a good time. They have said that they were around nobody else in this country. So yes, they were out in public, but they were not hanging around with people. So they basically said it was impossible for them to contaminate anyone. But yet the evidence is on social media. Here we have it. Or Facebook people, sorry, Instagram, you can't see this, but someone replied and said, wait, ... you're here? Chriselle Perkins says, yes, cousin. And then her cousin replies, damn, hope you didn't bring the Rona here, aka coronavirus, unless it's a case of corona, my youth. Anyways, you come down by the Westin Hotel. I'll be there today. Then she replies, laughing out loud, boy, just calm down. I will be coming over there. Going to see Auntie tonight. So please tell me, where in this message are we to believe that JD Perkins and Chriselle Perkins did not see other people while they were here? He has posted multiple times on Facebook indicating that they were by themselves the whole time. They were gallivanting all over the place. Lovers Wall in East End, on public beaches. Oh, no. That beach photo was taken 5 feet or so outside of our hotel room. And we were told that was fine. We could be on the beach. Okay. Lovers Wall, not 5 feet from your hotel room. So explain that one. Explain these social media messages where you're talking to your cousin and you're going to go see your cousin and auntie and God knows who else. So we're to believe that you came here for 5-6 days and you didn't see anybody? When you, listen, cut the shit. Seriously. It's people like this lying to our faces, trying to make themselves look good. Charlene says, stupid and ignorant people, straight talk. There's a level of arrogance that comes with this for some people. They think that it's business as usual. And again, because they can afford this luxurious lifestyle coming in a private jet, somehow that makes them immune from getting coronavirus. Even if you were immune from getting coronavirus, which you're not, your ability to be asymptomatic, show no symptoms, and pass that on to other people is what you should be concerned about. You have a social responsibility to not spread this disease. And that's why the premier has said, stay your behinds home. There are countries around the world that have done a good job of containing this and keeping their numbers extremely low. South Korea has done it. And one way in which they have done it is by extensive testing. So basically, South Korea set up these drive-through checkpoints where everyone going through them would be swabbed and tested regardless of whether you have coronavirus symptoms or not. So they have been applauded for the way in which they have handled this. See what it says 3 days ago? And I've been talking about this for 2 weeks now about South Korea. There's an article 3 days ago on The Wire saying, what can the world learn from South Korea's coronavirus strategy? The world can learn a lot if we were paying attention. So one of the major things that they have done is mobile testing. They had people in the full hazmat suit. They're out in the middle of the highway, stopping vehicles. And by the way, being swabbed for this is not even fun. Like, they have to take the long swab and stick it way up your nasal cavity. It's a little painful for the short term. And so their extensive testing, drive-through testing, where they could do 300-400 people at each stop point. In addition to that, they've set up additional mobile units. They're protecting their workers, but they are testing. And you know what now, as a result of this? The World Health Organization director has said, test. Why? Because that gives you a real indication of the numbers. So those of you who sit down thinking Cayman only has 5, check your head. It would be impossible for us to only have 5 cases here. We only have 5 confirmed cases, which all came out of Health City. But make no qualms about it. It's not only 5 cases in all of the Cayman Islands. That would be almost impossible. I'm telling you. I am here to tell you the cold hard truth. And the cold hard truth is, if we tested everyone on this island, we would be shocked at the number of people who have it who are asymptomatic, who have it and have mild symptoms and may think that they just have the regular flu. Wake up. Cayman, wake up. So testing has been critical. Big countries like the US have failed at testing. The UK has failed at testing. These are the hard, cold facts. We're here to give you the hard, cold truth, but to give you the hard, cold truth, I need to give you some hard, cold facts. As of March the 20th, the UK has only tested 64,621 people. So listen to what they said. That is actually far more than any other European country except for Italy, because poor Italy, total devastation. Probably 5,000 people now, I haven't checked today's numbers, have died in Italy as a result of the COVID-19. Their medical system apparently wasn't great to begin with, but the little of what they had has collapsed. They have people who have died that they don't even know what to do with the bodies. They've had to call in the military to remove caskets and to take the bodies out. And there are pictures where the bodies are just lined up. They're just sending them to the crematory, just cremate. Doctors have to treat patients without themselves having the proper equipment to protect themselves. These medical professionals themselves are getting infected and dying because of this. And the less people you have in the medical profession to try to help people creates even more of a disastrous situation. They have said, they've mandated, the elderly, forget it. We can't help them. We don't have the infrastructure to try to treat those people. We don't have enough respirators. We don't have enough beds, you know? We don't have any of that. You understand what I'm saying? And if you think a country like Italy can, basically sink under the pressure of the COVID-19, imagine poor little us, the Cayman Islands, a population of 65,000 people, with half of that population being imported expat workers, who some are now stranded here, and they have to look to the government to help them. Where you think the government just has $1 trillion sitting down waiting to help people for the next 3-4 months? The money isn't there. People who come here and Caymanians who live here think that Cayman is a wealthy country. We have wealthy people here, and we have a small percentage of people who are truly wealthy. But guess what? The 80% of us, including myself, are living paycheck to paycheck. The 80% of us have no means of surviving this if this hits us hard. So if you have not taken this serious up until this point, up until today, I am begging you. Janelle just confirmed that Italy has gone over 6,000 dead. In one day alone, they had almost 800. That was a record on Saturday. I don't know if they have since exceeded that number or not. Sue says, you're depressing this morning. Scaremongering isn't good to talk like that. Sue, listen. The reason why we are having this conversation is because by and large, the people in the Cayman Islands are not getting it. So if you think that the fear in the Premier's voice yesterday was fear-mongering, or what I'm saying to you guys this morning is fear-mongering, that says to me that you are still not getting it. You still don't understand the urgency of why it is necessary for me to even have this conversation. I could be doing a lot more things with my time this morning instead of trying to sit here and explain to people the urgency of why at 10 o'clock you're going to get a reality check. If you think I'm fear-mongering you, you need to make sure you tune in to the 10 o'clock press briefing, because the fear needs to be real. You need to be fearful. Yes, you need to be afraid. Coronavirus 2019 is killing people the world over. It will kill people here in the Cayman Islands. One person has already died. He will not be the only death. If you call that fear-mongering, then the truth should put fear into you. It's a reality. We don't have enough test kits. I think the last I heard we had like 400 or something. And there's this, oh yeah, we can order more from the CDC or wherever the test kits come from. We should be testing in the ideal world, which we don't live in. Every single person in this country should be subjected to a test. That's basically what the World Health Organization is telling you. So finally, the UK has said as of March the 19th that they've ordered additional tests, and they're going to try now to test 25,000 per day. 25,000 tests per day is what the UK is aiming for. and listen to this, if the UK needs a role model for implementing these tests, it could do worse than look towards South Korea. South Korea has done it right. The Director General of the World Health Organization has said, you cannot fight this fire blindfolded. When I hear people say you are fear-mongering, you're scaring people, that's because you still have your blinders on. That's why. That's why you feel that way. You still don't get this. And if you are anyone who has a compromised immune system, you are anyone who has diabetes, hypertension, MS, and any slew of diseases, or you're just older. I mean, let's be real here. You're going to want to take your blinders off today. Edwin says, Charlene says, Sandra, you're correct. We'd be devastated at the amount of positive results. Let us also reflect on how much longer our port was open and the number of tourists that freely rampaged through our businesses and the streets. And speaking on that front, cruise ships. I want you guys to go and read the article that we posted up on our social media page earlier. I don't think it's on Instagram as yet, but we posted it on Facebook. About now they have discovered that based on what happened on the cruise ships, that this infection, the coronavirus itself, can actually live a lot longer on surfaces than they thought. How do they know that? Because they went and looked at that cruise ship that was stationed off of Japan. So whilst I'm 100% behind our government right now, I still believe that early on their response to this was too delayed. When they were out there, when Moses Kirkernel was going to meeting with the cruise lines, when they were like, oh, well, we don't like the fact that you turned away one of our cruise ships. And at that point, our government was still committed to having those petri dishes called cruise ships come to our shores. That was a mistake. That was an early mistake, but it was a critical mistake. If we had not been allowing cruise ships to still enter our ports on February the 29th, I feel sorry for the Italian man who has passed away, but Health City would have never been able to go out there and get him. This is what I'm talking about. That delayed response because we didn't see what was coming. We still had our blinders on politically. They couldn't see the implications of us getting an infection here. One single case was one too many. Our borders, given the size of our population, could have been and should have been shut down a long time ago. We're sitting down waiting on places like the UK to set an example for us when the UK themselves have failed. The US has failed miserably at handling this outbreak. Their people aren't getting it either. They're out on Miami Beach partying. They're trying to isolate themselves in Washington, D.C. and New York City now because those are some of the hot spots. Florida has over 500 cases. You know how many people go between Cayman and Florida, like picking up a glass of water? All the cruise ships coming out of Florida, those petri dishes. We were out there begging the cruise lines to still come in. We need your money. Oh, no. Don't tell us that you're going to change your itinerary. We want you here. That's what we were doing. Folks, again, I want to make it very clear. The information that we get here in Cayman Mall Road, we get from different sources all over the place. And what I'm going to say to you right now is coming into me hot off the presses. It's not from government, so I want you to wait until 10 o'clock to hear what your government has to say. But I have just received word that banks will be shut down for the next 10 days. We are going to go into martial law here in a second. Understand me, banks. If you need money from the bank, if you need cash, you need to go get it. Don't panic. Go to the ATM machine, withdraw a little bit of money in case you need it. We have seen our banking systems have issues with ATM cards not working and that sort of thing. So it's always a good idea to have a little bit of cash on hand. It's suspected to be airborne. Edwin says, but a sneeze travels a distance of 6 feet and cough even further. I just say lock the Ras Island down until you are sure it is under control. Atlas says, Charlene, it's suspected to be airborne, yes. However, they haven't detected any aerosol particles. So that's still a scientific assumption at the moment. The 6 feet guideline is to be safe rather than sorry. Krista says, this is a conversation that needs to happen. People need to be put in a mind of fear. And listen, being fearful of something doesn't mean that you panic. You can have a fight or flight response. So what I'm saying is, if I'm sitting here today putting the fear of life and death in you, that's a good thing. Your response to that doesn't have to be one of panic. Your response to that is preparation. If I'm saying to you, on the mall road, I'm hearing that the banks are going to be shut down for 10 days, I'm not telling you to panic and go withdraw every single dime. I'm just telling you, prepare for it. If I'm telling you martial law is coming, prepare for it. That's all. Fear is one of our natural responses, one of our natural emotions, and it simply means that we need to prepare ourselves. Shan says Turks and Caicos that they don't have any cases, and that's because they closed their borders early. Lady Dent said if he'd gone to HSA, that would have definitely been a game changer. Because someone said, imagine if he'd end up at HSA. Flow workers have just said that supermarkets will be confirmed to be closed at 10 a.m. this morning. I don't know how much truth that is. Well, I don't think that they'd be closed at 10 a.m. I think what's going to happen is after the press conference goes live at 10, we will then see what the implications of that would be in terms of supermarkets. She Be Like That says that we should try thinking positive because some places have cases and no deaths. Well, we've already had death. Thinking positive in a situation like this isn't going to help you. Someone says being negative makes you a pessimist. And being a pessimist means that I'm just the realist. But to me, being a pessimist means I'm just a realist. Well, listen to me. This isn't about pessimism or optimism. This is about reality. And reality says that fear in our lives has a role to play. There is a reason why, as human beings, we have the ability to be fearful. It actually saves our lives every single day. We have an instinct, a sixth sense, call it whatever you want, about certain things. So your body, psychologically, physiologically, knows that when you're in certain situations, you should be fearful of this situation. Human beings are only born, I think, with two fears. I think it's the fear of darkness and the fear of falling. And we acquire other fears throughout our lives, through experience. Without fear, you would go and touch that burner every single time, the hot burner. So fear has its place to play in our lives, and fear is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with being fearful. It's how you choose to then respond. So in a moment like this, positive thinking actually isn't going to get you anywhere. You need to take positive actions. Self-isolating was one that we should have been doing as a nation. Listen to this now, this article out of CNBC. The coronavirus can survive on surfaces for up to 17 days, a study published on Monday, that was yesterday, by the CDC says. So again, if you're only going to the CDC website and you're not paying attention, I think this might have been what happened to Dr. Lee, why he was giving highly inaccurate information. He still wasn't caught up with what was going on because the CDC website, maybe their staff is overwhelmed and they're not updating the sheets on the website, but you need to be paying attention to other stuff that's going on. You know what I'm saying? Almost half, 46.5%. And again, this was on that Princess cruise ship, the Japanese one, that had 10 plus people die on it and like 800 people infected. Of the infections aboard the Diamond Princess, 46.5% of them were asymptomatic when they were tested, particularly explaining the high attack rate of the virus among passengers and crew. So almost 50% of the persons infected were showing no symptoms. The ship quickly became what was at the time the largest cluster of confirmed COVID-19 cases outside of China, with more than 800 passengers and crew eventually becoming infected. So let me try to explain this to you. 17 days on surfaces, and you're only self-quarantining for 14 days. It doesn't take a mathematician to figure out that even the 14-day quarantining might be on the low end of things. But if you're ignoring that and you're not even adhering to the 14 days, what do you think is going to be the end result? Atlas says that he got a UK government text alert. All people there must stay at home. Noel says, good morning, Sandy. Sorry, I'm just logging in. Tired of telling these people to stop the bull. People need to stop taking this for a joke. Cameron says, most of us are afraid of the truth. Don't we know that? That's probably our biggest fear. And that's why our theme song says what? We're going to shine the light on you. And right now we're hoping to shine the light on the coronavirus. Vicky says the islands were shut down too late. This is so serious, not a joke, not a game. Gareth wants to know what's happening around the airport. Well, I don't know, Gareth. You tell me. I'm not at the airport, so if you know what's happening, tell me. Nicholas says, it is what it is. People don't like to hear the truth. And people are afraid of hearing the truth. Charlene says, who has said that it's airborne and absolutely better safe than sorry? So therefore, follow our premier and medical experts. What they're saying is to simply do better than endangering family, friends, and oneself. Rachel says that we need to hear the truth because people are being stupid and very selfish and putting people around them at risk. All right, folks, it's 9 o'clock. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and wrap up the program. A lot of you have questions. Yes, public transportation shut down. Like I said, the government has moved up their press briefing to 10 o'clock today. I do not think that was done randomly. I don't think that that's a mistake. I think it's because there's an extremely important message coming our way. Disconnect wants to know how we're going to get food. The grocery stores will be the last thing to go, in my opinion. They may have to reduce their hours, but obviously we need to be able to shop. We need to be able to eat. So I don't see them shutting down the grocery stores entirely. I think it might be putting some very strict rules in place. But even from yesterday, the premier said, listen, the grocery stores themselves, and when we spoke to Woody Foster on Friday, he indicated that they were considering a number of different ways in which to control the number of people in their stores. Because everybody's running to the grocery store. When everyone runs to the grocery store, you've got 500 people, 200 people in Foster's countryside. How do they control the number of people that are inside the grocery store? If they tell you to wait outside, then you're congregating outside and you're still less than 6 feet apart. So they were thinking of solutions. And so the premier said yesterday, we know the grocery stores and pharmacies in particular, where people go when they're sick, are a hot spot for a number of people being gathered in less than that 6-foot area. And so that causes a great deal of concern. So that concern means that at the end of the day, the grocery stores now have to almost with immediate effect find a solution. You cannot go in the grocery store and be rolling up on people. And I'm still shocked to hear people like, oh yeah, I went to the grocery store and so, clapping my hand and we're touching, hugging. I'm like, dude, stay away from me. That's ridiculous. No one should be engaging in that. Everybody thinks, well, I'm not going to get it. This is not going to apply to me. And that is probably the one mode of thinking that is most detrimental to all of us. Let us adjust our actions and proceed under the assumption that you can get it and you can be killed by it just like anybody else. And if we think that way, if I think, oh my God, this virus could kill me, you don't think I'm going to wash my hands more often? You don't think I'm going to walk around with my little tissue so when I do get a little itch, I can be like, oh my God, let me scratch it with this and not necessarily my hands? The second I go out of my house and I come back in, the first thing I'm going to do is wash my hands thoroughly. You don't think I'm going to, I might like you and you might be my friend or acquaintance or whatever, but keep your distance. You don't need to be in my personal space right now. Our lives have changed forever when it comes to things like social distancing. This discussion about it being airborne, Atlas, you're right. It seems like for it to survive in an airborne capacity, there are several factors that have to be in play, temperature-wise, humidity-wise. But listen, we live in one of the most muggy, humid places in the world. So in my opinion, we're probably the perfect environment for this. Heat does not kill this. So while everybody's out talking about, well, Caribbean people, we okay, we got Vicks, we got white rum, we got this. Listen, none of that can help you with coronavirus. None of it. The hot sun, the heat, none of that can help you. You need to follow instructions in terms of what we know works. Extensive testing, that's on the government's part. Get the test kits here. Start testing everybody. Extensive testing, mobile testing, so that you can get that extensive testing done. Implementing a plan of social distancing for everyone, shutting down everything. That is how you're going to control it. Trisha's asking about some 30 something cruise ships out to sea. I meant to look that up actually because I wanted to get some more information on that, but unfortunately, not much we can do to help them right now. Cuba decided to take some in. Cayman is not in a position to help a whole lot of people outside of our borders. We're barely going to be in a position to help ourselves. Tasha says, thank you for your show every morning. Allow only 5 to 10 people in the store. Give them about 20 minutes to grab what they need and to get out. Have lots of security outside to keep people in line 6 feet away from each other. Vicky says, Sandy, no one should be preaching and begging us to take this virus serious. Stop the madness, people stay home, and stop the walkabout now. But unfortunately, we're not taking it serious. Should be one person per household at the grocery store. I agree with that, Adriana. I don't understand why 2 and 3 people have to go and get 1 pound of rice. Having said that, Woody did make a fair point on Friday when he was on the show to say that, what if you're a single parent and you have a 2-year-old? What are you going to do with your 2-year-old? You can't leave the 2-year-old locked up at home. So you may be required to take that 2-year-old with you to the grocery store. So there are certain situations, but at the same time, I think a lot of people who have an option are still deciding to do a family trip to the grocery store when that is so totally not necessary. So everyone is trying to find a way to cope with this and the best way that they can. So last night we received a video of a young man who apparently works for Public Works. I didn't even look closely at his uniform or whatever, but he's in a classroom and he does like a simulation where he's the teacher asking questions and then he's the student responding to those questions. It's kind of funny up until the last bit when he uses the P word, because I thought that was over the top and unnecessary. He mentioned CMR in it, which was funny, but a lot of people are circulating this, and I was going to talk about, I mentioned this video earlier, so I do want to share it with you, about the social implications of, we're talking about social pressuring and peer pressuring on a social level. And there's a reason why people want to say and do certain things. So when you make a video in this day and age, when you mention Cayman Mall Road, good, bad, indifferent, whatever, that goes more viral than if you mentioned the Cayman Compass in your video. Let's just face it, or whoever else. Because CMR has a little bit of a different social footing, if you want to put it that way. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of cool and funny and hip and whatever to mention Cayman Mall Road in your jokes and your memes and so on. So this guy decided to do this video, like I said, mostly funny. I think the last part he could have done without saying it in that way. So if you have kids listening to this stream, this is where I would say to you, this is no longer PG-13. You want to remove those children from watching this. Unfortunately for him, though, he's a government worker. He's in his Public Works uniform, which is not a good look. And in addition to that, I don't know who he is, but I also understand that he was actually doing it in a classroom environment where he's supposed to be there as a Public Works person, probably securing the environment, making sure that classroom is fit for purpose when we reopen our schools. So I think he might probably get in a little bit of trouble. The video, I got it at least 10 times last night. So it's fair to say that it has already gone viral. We decided not to actually put it on our social media platform because I don't really want it to go super viral. I mean, I don't want this dude to lose his job. Right now, everybody needs a job. We all are going to be in a real ticklish situation here. And, people have bills to pay. But the point that I was trying to make, why I wanted to share this video, is the mere fact of, again, when we were talking about earlier, the social influences of what we do and how we do things. And this whole concept that one of our posters said about naming and shaming doesn't have a place and it doesn't make a difference. Well, what I'm about to say is that shame is actually a very powerful mean of social policing, and it can work in different ways. So for some people, this video isn't an example of shaming, but this is about the power of the social world that we live in, the power of the Instagram and Facebook world and whatever, that would actually drive someone like this gentleman, who's probably otherwise relatively professional in his job, to even do this video and risk. I mean, he obviously recorded it, put it together, shared it with his friends and shared it with other people. Janelle says Spain has been reporting deaths by the hundreds and they're locked down for the next 9 days. Well, if they're reporting deaths by the 100, they might want to lock down for more than 9 days. But anyway, I'm going to share this video. I'm going to come offline because at 10 o'clock, we're going to go live again for the press conference. Please, folks, share our link, tune into that press conference. But I'll end the show today formally with this little video from this guy. Again, I don't even know his name, but I do understand he works. Sorry. I'm just dropping my camera here. I do understand that he does work at Public Works. So again, shout out to him. I thought it was a funny video. I think, you know, doing it on work time in your work uniform was probably not a good idea. And the last bit with the profanity probably wasn't a good idea either.
What will be a destruction of the Cayman Islands? Coronavirus. No, John, that is wrong. Cayman Road. Okay.
All right. I don't know if I got the shorter version of this, but I think, yeah, I think someone edited out. Okay, this is the edited version. Good. Because I think someone sent me the unedited version, which has, like I said, the ending is a little bit too profane. So I'm glad that someone actually, because I thought this was the full version, so I'm glad that someone actually decided to cut that off a little bit. All right, folks, that's it. We're gonna wrap up the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. 252 of you are still tuned in here to Facebook, sorry. And Instagram numbers were strong today as well. Instagram, we had up to 100 folks. Right now, we've got 60 folks. Stay tuned at 10 o'clock, my apologies, 45 minutes. We will be going live again with what the Premier has to say this morning. And we're hearing things like the banks are going to be closed down for 10 days. We are hearing things like, you know, grocery stores are going to be adjusting some hours. We are hearing things like additional measures, including possible martial law coming our way. So it is what it is. It is what it is. There's already a line of people at Countryside waiting to get in. I don't know if that's a line of people because Countryside is only saying so many people in at a time and they're counting people. But again, even in this photo that someone just sent me of this line, there's still people who are not keeping their social distance. 6 feet, folks, 6 feet. There are concerns about a pregnant woman with potentially having coronavirus, which is, oh my God, it's horrible. Okay. My apologies. I think we may have misquoted. Someone just sent me this. I think we may have misquoted Sue. Sue is one of our top fans, Sue McLaughlin. So of course I don't want to misquote Sue on this, but someone just said to me that she was